Hi, everybody. It's Adele Frizzell. And
Tiffany here.
so today we're really excited to talk about this topic. It's why do people gain weight after a diet ends? I think most of us have experienced this at some time or another, and it can feel a bit mysterious why it's happening, but actually there's some very good reasons why it's happening. And I'm going to give you a little disclaimer here. You might not want to hear some of the things we're going to talk about. This is like taking the red pill, right? We're going to wake you up to the realities of weight regain. And if you have any questions about that, any objections, please comment below. We're going to be monitoring the chat and we're happy to engage with you. All right. So Tiffany, losing weight and keeping it off is hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. There is actually a statistic out there, which is completely untrue, that 95% of people regain all the weight they lost after a diet ends. It's untrue. Approximately 70% of people are actually able to maintain a good chunk of their weight loss after a year. And long-term studies show that people can be very successful at keeping the weight off. But they all have certain behaviors in common, which we're going to go into. Okay, so if you're doing these behaviors, more power to you. You'll probably have an easier time keeping the weight off. Okay, so yesterday we asked this question in the Facebook group. Why do you think people regain weight after a diet ends? And we had some really great comments. Loved reading them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to read some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got my other screen over here. So if I'm looking off, that's why. Bobby said because they did a diet that isn't maintainable long-term instead of incorporating healthy lifestyle changes. That's a big one. We see that happens a lot.
That's a really good one because I'm choking on a coffee ground.
Well, because a lot of people will do diets and they don't learn anything about nutrition. And at the end of the day, they're doing this rapid diet, but they're not changing any of the underlying habits as well. So there's a lot that goes into that.
They don't learn as well about themselves, you know, their mindset around food, not just their behaviors, not just their healthy habits, but what are the thoughts, decisions, fears that drive their decision-making around food? There's no deep work done.
Yep.
And when you diet a certain way, and if that diet is not something that you're willing to do for the rest of your life, it's going to be very difficult not for that scale not to bounce back.
Yep. Another one is because they haven't committed to the lifetime lifestyle change of eating healthier. Once the diet is done, you either have to continue the diet and keep up or regression will start, is what someone said. Someone else said they haven't learned the habits yet to maintain healthier weight. Dieting can get you there. Behavior change over the long term keeps you there.
Yep. Taking the words right out of my mouth there. Exactly. Yep.
And that was by Bree. So
Bree is our newest coach. Yeah. Diets work in the short term. They're wonderful. They do work contrary to what some people say. But again, if you don't change your lifestyle, your environment, your, you know, how you respond, then the weight's just going to crawl back up.
Yeah. I'm seeing a trend here with what people are saying. The next person, Jody, she said, I think looking at behaviors and learning your why, that's another big one that we talk about, is you have to find your why. Why is this important to you? But learning your why behind them is crucial. If you don't look deeper, it's too easy to default back to what's familiar. Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, 100%, Jody. Like, we get clients who want to lose weight for a specific event, like their son's wedding or a high school reunion. That's their big why. What happens when that event ends? They don't have strong enough, compelling reason to keep the weight off because the pressure's off. Yeah, you need a deep reason.
And for some people, you're not ready. You think that you're ready, but you're not. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have to get to that point. And sometimes getting to that point to where you really find that why can be very painful. So just something to be mindful of.
People are ready for change when the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change.
Yep. I had that moment. I had it. It was light bulb. I'm done.
Yeah.
So Been there. So Bettina here, she said, because there are unresolved emotional issues masked as food cravings, and instead of healing the issue, food is still used as a solve. So they're using the food to kind of put a mask over that pain and hide it. Yeah. A diet eating plan is great structure in general to create change, results in maintenance. But if someone hasn't done the emotional healing, food will still be their tool for the whispers of pain, not a diet.
I love it. Yeah. Diets, again, we can white knuckle through them for a short period of time, but if we're eating, a lot of our eating is taking place for emotional reasons, for coping, to numb pain. Maybe some of it is just habitual cycles as well, right? When you feel bad, you eat something to make you feel better. Then, it's going to show up on the body, because if we emotionally eat a lot with a great frequency, and there are consequences to that. Now, keep in mind, everybody emotionally eats. Even naturally slender people emotionally eat. Mm-hmm. It's the frequency and severity of the emotional eating that leads to the weight gain.
Yeah, absolutely. Barbie said for her, no real guidance or support after P2, coupled with not actually learning about food or nutrition and delving into the reasons behind my food relationship and behaviors. She can easily restrict and stay on a food list. It's the after part that gets her. So she doesn't know how to move forward after she's done with the restriction and eating from a food list. And if you can't figure out your why, the cycle eventually begins again. And why I love this program that she's referring to is the Transformer program. She's learning her why and so much more.
Thank you. That's really great to hear. Yeah, I love it. Nailed it.
Yep. And Patty said they go back to old habits. And then the last comment we have on here is from Susan. She said she lacked knowledge about the max number of calories and balance of protein, carbs, fats, macros she could consume for her body to maintain weight at a specific activity level. I love that she mentioned activity level in that. And also didn't understand the importance of eating carbs and fueling her body steadily throughout the day. When she was hungry, she ignored carbs and exceeded the amount of fat that your body could burn. Carbs help me feel satiated, and I really like veggies. Feeling grateful and hopeful now that I have the information that's critical to success.
Wonderful. It seems like these comments break down into habits, right? Mm-hmm. You need to have long-term habit change. Also knowledge, a lack of knowledge on how to eat, like maybe fearing carbs unnecessarily, not eating enough protein. And so in our Transformer program, we have there's a big education component. You basically get like a college level course in nutrition, and it demystifies a lot of things about artificial sweeteners and carbs and everything. And there are 12 lessons in that program, 12 weekly lessons. So people come away with a lot more knowledge. But knowledge isn't always enough, right? We need knowledge and action, and that is real power. And so we're going to talk about what actual actions people need to take to be successful at permanent weight loss, okay?
And I do want to say, I see that there's a couple of people on here watching this live right now. Drop in the comments, say hi, say welcome, ask any questions that you have for us. That's what we're here for, is we're going to answer any questions as they pop up. I am monitoring the comments, so drop them in there. If we can't get to them before the live is over, then we'll monitor the feed as always, and we'll respond to you guys after the call is done.
Yeah, if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment. Okay, so I've made some notes for today's Facebook Live. Really, it comes down to people stop doing the things that got them to the weight loss, and they start doing other things, and they get themselves into a calorie surplus. It really is that simple. They eat more food than their body actually requires. Now, this can be intentional or unconscious or habitual, okay? But I will bet that for a lot of us, we make excuses. We know what we're doing when we're overindulging, and we just tell ourselves, I'll get started tomorrow, or I deserve this. What goes through your mind when you actually are eating something you know isn't going to help you meet your goals? Yeah. What is the excuse that pops up in your head? Because we all have them, and they sound very rational in the moment.
Sometimes I tell myself whenever I do it, because I overeat too, it happens, right? Sometimes it's just this one time. It'll be okay.
Yeah, just this one time. I know. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Trust me. I did it yesterday. But it's like, how often do you tell yourself that, right?
If you tell
So
yourself it's just one time and you're telling yourself that every day, then it's not just one time anymore. At that point, you have to find out, how do I break this cycle of it's just one time? It's been multiple times now.
Yeah. Or I deserve a treat. It's like, well, it's not a treat if it's daily. Or I'll start on Monday, I'll start the diet on Monday thing. And we always advise our clients, you're only one workout or one plate away from getting back on track. So you got off track one meal. All right, make the next meal on track.
I actually want to take a moment on that aspect to share something. I recently had a client that she disappeared. She ghosted me basically. And I finally reached out to her and I was like, look, I don't want to harass you. This is my last time that I'm going to bother you. I would love to have you come back and have you actively participate in this program and let me help you. And, there was some conversation back and forth, but it resulted in her tracking her food for 3 days. And after 3 days of tracking, she had already dropped a pound of weight on the scale. So, I mean, obviously, that's not the whole weekly average. So we don't know how that's going to average out or anything. But the fact is that it's never too late. You have to kind of look at your situation and your surroundings and say, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it. This is why it's important. So, and knowing that even if you did fall off, it's never too late to get back on.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think people get in their head that they have to do all the things, and it just feels so burdensome and like so much pressure. And you don't, you just need to make one small, tiny step in the right direction, such as your next meal is a healthy one.
Yeah.
Right? Or you do half of a workout, or you just lace up your shoes and go for a walk around the block. Boom, you're already back on track. And we know that when we have a win, even a small win, it leads to a hunger for more wins. And that's how you get back on track. So get out of your head, because that will just waste energy. Thinking about it is such an energy suck. Get out of your head and just do the small thing that gets you moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. So I do want to mention that Cynthia is on the call right now as well. Hi, Cynthia. We love having you here.
Okay, so there are some key behaviors that people have who lose weight and keep it off. And, there's a lot of things you can do, because weight loss is really, or weight gain is the sum of many small behaviors over time. It's not just one thing. Everyone's looking for that one magic thing, that magic bullet. It's actually several things and several behaviors done consistently over time that leads to weight loss or leads to weight gain. One of these, probably one of the most important ones, is protein. It is the most important macronutrient to get right. And when we start working with clients, they are always amazed at how little protein they were eating. Why is protein important? There are two reasons. It helps you eat less without feeling so hungry. And research shows that protein keeps you feeling fuller for longer. And as a result, weight loss is easier. And that's in part because it takes longer for the body to break down protein than it does carbs and fats. It also stimulates the release of satiety hormones in the gut. So when you eat protein, you naturally eat less. And that makes a big difference. Doubling your protein intake, which is what we do for most clients because they're eating under or just barely the recommended daily allowance, doubling your protein intake could help you spontaneously consume 400 less calories a day. That's a lot. Like that's about 3 pounds a month, simply doubling your protein.
And I want to add here that a lot of our clients, they talk about how full they are all the time. They're like, I'm not eating anywhere near as much, but I'm always full, because they're not used to consuming that amount of protein.
Yes, exactly. And ideally, you want to spread that protein out over every meal throughout the day. Number 2 would be plants. Plants are really important. Fruits and vegetables reduce your disease risk, and they might help you lose weight as well. Why? Because they're filling and they don't have a lot of calories. And this is important for people who like to eat large and have large appetites. If you have trouble feeling full, you might want to make half of your plate vegetables. You'll find it a lot easier to manage your hunger that way. Fruits and veggies are also loaded with health promoting antioxidants. vitamins, minerals, fiber, and phytonutrients. Don't cut out the carbs. They are so important for satiety and for health reasons. And there is a huge body of evidence that shows that consuming more produce can help prevent a wide range of health problems, including diabetes, stroke, heart disease, high blood pressure, and cancer. So more plants is really, really a good habit to have to help you manage your weight.
Yeah. And if you've never been a vegetable eater, when's the last time you've actually sat down and experimented with cooking veggies in different ways? I mean, you can air fry things and it tastes amazing. You can bake things, you can roast things. Hi, Joan. Thanks for hopping on. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do, different ways that you can prep veggies. And if you're a person that knows that you hate broccoli, that's fine. Eat something else. You don't have to eat veggies that you hate. Find the veggies that you enjoy and then prepare them in different ways to keep it from being boring. Seasoning is your friend.
Your taste buds will change over time. I didn't like vegetables before. We've had clients who hated vegetables, and then a few changes to how they prepared them made them fall in love with vegetables. So it's totally possible. All right, we are giving you the keys to manage your weight here. Okay, step 1 was protein. Step 2 was plants. Our next tip here is sleep. One of the most underrated aspect when it comes to managing weight. Sleep affects what and how much you eat, as well as your overall health. People can nail everything with their nutrition and still struggle to reach their goals. And that's often because they're not getting enough sleep. And they only make progress once they start prioritizing sleep. And we recommend 7 to 9 hours a night. By not getting enough sleep, you're just hungrier. You crave sweets more than you otherwise would. And of course, you're also tired, okay? So you're going to exercise less, probably. You just don't feel excited about going to the gym. You're going to recover poorly, and you're going to just move less naturally as a result of being tired. If you sleep 5 or 6 hours when you really need 7 or 8, you're going to keep your body in a chronically sleep deprived state. And you might feel, well, I can function on 5 or 6. You might function, but you're not giving yourself the benefit of feeling better and functioning optimally. You're going to impair your body's ability to regulate several key hormones when you get less than 7 hours of sleep. For example, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, it rises when you don't get enough sleep. So you're going to feel hungrier. And leptin falls. Leptin only gets restored through a good night of sleep. So it's going to take longer to feel full. Leptin is your satiety hormone. And so more awake time also means more time to root through the kitchen cupboards and more time to eat. Bottom line, sleep-deprived people tend to eat at least 300 more calories daily than people who get enough sleep. So that adds up over time, right? That's a few pounds a month. So in addition to interfering with weight loss, a lack of sleep also erodes health and increases blood pressure and cortisol, the stress hormone. If you're a new parent and you're suffering from a lack of sleep, this is a big reason why there is weight gain. Okay, people blame their hormones changing after they give birth. A lot of this just has to do with lifestyle habits, sleep patterns, etc.
You're just trying to survive in that moment. And a lot of times when we're tired, we end up reaching for what is the easiest, convenient thing that I can eat right now because I'm tired and I just don't feel like dealing with it. So
you're eating more and moving less. It's a recipe for disaster. All right. So
speaking of moving less.
Yeah.
So the next thing that we were going to talk about, if you were ready to go on, was movement and how that affects your long-term goals.
Yeah.
So the less you move,
it's huge.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, we used to think that after 40, you know, there were hormonal things occurring that actually caused us to not lose weight as easily, to put on a tire around our waist. And actually this has more to do with nutrition and lifestyle changes and becoming more sedentary. So how do some people manage to lose weight and keep it off? They change their habits. And one of these core habits is to move every day. Research shows that people who lost over 30 pounds and kept it off for a year or more accumulated 250 to 300 minutes of medium to high intensity cardiovascular exercise a week. This means they got their heart beating a little faster and they got a little breathy. They pushed themselves. And interestingly, this is double the recommendation from the American Heart Association for weekly aerobic activity. So it could demonstrate that they didn't just have a commitment to exercise, but a need to do more to keep the weight off. It could also indicate a love of physical activity. We don't know. We just know that they doubled the minimum recommendations for cardiovascular health. So it's hard to say what the reasons are, but we do know they did more than the minimum, and as a result, they kept the weight off. And so 250, 300 minutes might sound like a lot of movement, but if you break it up over 7 days, it's not as much as you might think. Like if you go for a 15 to 30 minute brisk walk right after dinner, you hit 210 minutes, up to 210 minutes there. Now you throw in a bike ride, a swim, a HIIT session, a spin class, a Zumba class, a run, a ski, whatever it is, and you can meet or exceed the recommended guidelines. But the important thing is you find an activity you enjoy, one that gets your heart beating a little faster, and you do it often and consistently. Your heart will thank you, and it will be much easier to manage your body weight. And there'll be a lot of good health outcomes as a result of that. So, out of curiosity, how many minutes of moderate to intense aerobic activity do you get each week? And do you know what the best exercise is for raising your metabolic rate and losing weight? Well, it's strength training. It's actually not cardio. Cardio is great for your heart. It's great if you love it and you do want some cardio in your day, but strength training is the leading contender for the title of best resting metabolic rate enhancer. It's the exercises that build muscle that have the greatest effect on your resting metabolic rate, because you will burn more calories at rest when you have higher amounts of muscle mass. When you run, you don't continue to burn those calories at rest. You're not really changing your body composition. You're just burning calories.
And a lot of people here, they think, well, don't I need to do cardio to lose the weight? No, if you've never done an intense strength training program or just a session, like go try it, see how you feel, see how your heart rate feels, how your lungs feel. I did a leg day today, and my goodness, at one point I was squatting and I was like, okay, this is the last one. And then I'm done and I can take a break because I need a break right now. I was cashed, just from picking weights up and putting them down.
Sometimes the limiting factor in a strength training workout is not the weight that you're lifting, it's actually your cardiovascular health. And so, because it can really push you, like I've had my heart rate pinned squatting. So you do get cardiovascular benefits. You also get range of motion benefits. You know, there's a lot of benefits to strength training, and it helps your metabolism. We encourage our ladies to basically get in some walking every week, get in one higher intensity workout, such as a hike, you know, and then do your weight training 2 to 3 times a week. You do that, you're set up for life. Walk daily, get your heart beating at least once a week with a hike or something, and do weights 2 to 3 times a week. You're set up for life. If you want to get serious about physique changes, then maybe do more weights. It's not a lot.
I know you mentioned that you said that we're set up for life, but that also, you do also have to factor one more thing into that, and that's your portion sizes. How much food are we eating? How much food are we consuming at each meal? How much food are you consuming at the end of a week? Like knowing that data can be very helpful for understanding how much movement you're doing and how much fuel your body requires to support that movement without gaining and also without losing weight. A perfect day would be you burned exactly the same amount of calories as what your body consumed that day. That would be perfect. Is it always going to happen that way? No. And that's why having that weekly average is fantastic as well, because some days maybe you burn a little more than what you consumed. Some days, maybe you consumed a little more than what you burned. That long-term balance is where the success really happens. So that doesn't mean that you always have to be super strict with your foods. You can absolutely have some lower calorie days and be like, I know that I'm going to go out and have a cheeseburger tonight. maybe I should plan for that accordingly. Focus on those portion sizes. If you're not one to track calories, we recommend tracking your macros by weighing things just because it's extremely accurate. But for some people, that's not something that they want to do. So there's other ways that they can track food. You can use the hand and plate guide. You can do the hunger scale. The hunger scale is a big one because that requires you to actually stop and listen to the signals that your body is sending. And it makes you slow down and actually enjoy the process of eating your food. When's the last time you sat down and you just focused on enjoying the meal in front of you versus how fast can I eat this because it tastes really good? You know, you're kind of rushing through it. When's the last time you just slowed down and enjoyed each bite? And then when you're enjoying it, sometimes you're like, this is really good, but I'm kind of full. I could keep eating, or I could stop and I could save it for later, So really establishing that mindfulness for everything that you're doing can be really helpful as well.
Yeah, you need some way of managing how and being mindful of how much you're eating.
Yeah.
You could have a very small amount of food and think it doesn't look like much, but it's very high in calories. Mm-hmm. Similar, if you eat a lot of plants and stuff, it could be a very big plate, but it's very low in calories. So some knowledge, nutritional knowledge is really good. People are always amazed by how many calories they were consuming before when they work with us because they didn't think it was much. Mm-hmm. And then they realize they move away from the dark side. But
it's funny too, because the people that do that, a lot of times they're like, but I eat clean. I eat mainly vegetarian. And I'm like, well, what is in your vegetarian food? What are the oils? What is the butter? What are the nuts and the seeds, all of that adds up. You can easily have a salad that's over 1,000 calories from the oils and the nuts. And it's crazy. And people don't quite realize that. They're like, but it's a salad. It is. You're right. It is a salad.
But if you can only consume 1,600 calories a day, you just ate the lion's share of calories for your day.
Yeah.
So you need some method of, some knowledge, I think, is really important. So as you become a lot more aware of how much you're eating, people underestimate how much they're eating by as much as 50%. I did a little trick on the Facebook group. I posted my breakfast and I asked people to guess the calories and macros, and it ranged from 400 to almost 900 calories. And it was almost 900 calories. And so Joe got that one right. But it's amazing, isn't it? When you just eyeball things, you can easily underestimate how much you're consuming. So portion control, very important. But, portion control is also affected by the things we talked about. How much protein you're eating, how many plants you're eating, how is your sleep, and how is your movement. That will determine, how many calories you need to consume to manage your weight. And people who have been very successful at keeping the weight off all use some method of tracking or portion control to keep the weight off. They don't simply check out one day. They're very aware. So they use exercise. They use those things that we mentioned. So plants, protein, movement, portion control, and sleep. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Let us know if you have any questions. As always, we're here to help you with your goals. If you're interested in working with us, please go to adelefrizzell.com, check out our programs page. We will help you to tweak your habits so that you don't just lose the weight, but you learn how to keep it off. Yeah. Thanks for your time, Tiffany.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.